All right, let's just start recording. So again, thank you so much for your time. Um, I first came across your profile. Actually, I learned about you from a podcast through Luke's story, and I was thinking, who is this guy? He sounds pretty amazing. Like just the sheer confidence, and not just the confidence, but I don't know much about the whole spirit realm. And to me, this was just totally fascinating for me. I've been looking more into it since that podcast. And then I got your book, um, Spirit Hacking. And it's been life changing. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for opening my eyes. Um, wow. There's so I don't even know where to start, but first of all, how did you become a shaman? Could we just start with that?
Yeah, so I became a shaman because it runs in my lineage of my family, and my dad's mom's mother and father and mom were both shamans. And so I was chosen when I was about 5 years old because I had certain gifts that was being shown in my behaviors. And it basically, my grandmother, my great great grandmother, always spoke about there being a child who's going to have all of the family gifts and traits and so forth. So when my father was actually training in shamanism with my great grandmother, she was telling him all of this, and that he was going to be the one who had the child and so forth. So when I think about me.
Wow. And I know that at some point there was a little conflict there. I know that. Sorry, can you hear me all right? I think maybe it's my
I
connection.
can, yeah.
Yeah, we're back. I know that there was a little conflict at the beginning where was it your father or somebody wanted you to not use your powers or something, isn't it?
Yes. So my father walked away from shamanism and decided to go into the music industry. And then he was the road manager for my cousin Fats Domino for a while. And then they were having a lot of difficulty on the road because, in those days, you couldn't put money in a bank. So it was very challenging to always buy a new car and stack money in a car and learn how to use a gun to protect the car every time you go into a new area of town. You would get robbed by some of the country boys that were there. So after a while, my father went through so much stress because of that, and then decided to follow my grandfather, who decided to walk away from it as well and went into Catholicism, which is normal in African families who come to the States, because when they do, the one of the things that they do is they hide their culture in Catholicism, which is normal. And then my grandfather he read a book on Seventh Day Adventists, and he decided to wanted to move the family over to Seventh Day Adventists. My father decided to go into the construction business and became a general contractor and a foreman, and then started working for this guy in Texas. And so basically, he started realizing that there was no place for this in our life anymore. And so when I started exuding these gifts, he was already created an idea of what he wants the family to be and what he wants me to be and what he wants my sister to be. And then all of a sudden, I'm like the curveball in the family that was being thrown by God at him. And he's having challenges because one part of him knows that it's real, and the other part of him is afraid of what's going to happen to me by society. So he felt like on some level he was protecting me, but also I think it's also because of his own fears about what he believed society would treat me with, that he didn't see that that protection became more of a suffocation and made me feel less acknowledged and more having to find myself and who I am and my strength and my power outside of his need to push me into what felt comfortable for him. And then my power is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And then him realizing that he can't put a container on it. So where he finally caved in and was like, okay, you can study religion. If you study the Bible and you go to Bible school and you study and you do all these things, then you can study shamanism and learn that as well. And then you make a decision about what it is. But I think you should follow Jesus and not and push these roots away because there's no place for them in the world anymore.
Wow, wow. That's really interesting. Wow. So, okay, man, there's so many other questions around that, but I want to ask. So one of the things which I learned from your book is that we all have some sort of gift. We all have um, special traits or like powers in which we can get from our higher self. Most people are not living to their true potential. This is from what I've learned from what you've said in your book. And most people speak a lot of things of destruction to themselves as well in their own lives. Yeah. Would you be able to explain it in a spiritual sense how this works?
Let me just go back first to give you some understanding of why we are the way we are on planet Earth. Yeah. So on this planet, when you come to Earth, you're not taught to be truthful. You're not taught to live in truth. You're not taught to follow your truth. You're taught to accept whatever lie they tell you to follow, and they teach you how to go against yourself. So as a child, you learn about betrayal of the self very early in your younger years, because on this planet, as a child, you are not allowed to tell your parents that they need to go and do some stuff on themselves because their negativity and their poison is affecting you. You can't tell your teacher, why am I learning this? This makes no sense to me whatsoever. This doesn't connect with me. This is how I learn. This is how I best learn. On this planet, you do what is being told of you. And if you don't, there's consequences. So you're raised on this planet to operate as the same way we treat dogs and animals on this planet. We domesticate them. We use the fear and punishment and pain as a way to shape and mold that person's character to what we want them to be. By doing that, we are already creating a neurological imbalance. We're creating a physiological imbalance. We're creating an understanding of the epigenetics of our body is being affected because we're basically changing ourselves to fit into the boxes, the ideas, and the systems that is being pushed upon us. And fear, the idea of death, the idea of being ostracized, the idea of being made fun of, the idea of not being seen or heard or being punished or going through pain is used as a tool or a mechanism to utilize that epigenetics on us to get us to change and shut down aspects of who we are. So sometimes people were meant to be more sensitive and they shut that down inside of themselves, which is why they have more inflammation, or they end up getting autoimmune disease, or they end up having all types of malfunctions within their biological system. So every human being is supposed to be as God created them to be. There is not supposed to be any changes in the system. As you are created, you are to be celebrated. This is the way it's supposed to be. But on this planet, we don't celebrate life. We change life to fit within our structure that we want to see. So people have all these natural gifts and abilities that are naturally born to them in this world, but then they shut them down as they begin to go through the industry of this system. The industry is the school system, your authority figures, the rules and regulations that are placed on you. The idea is that if you don't do this, then this thing's going to happen. And if you don't go to college and get a degree, then this is going to happen to you. So you start making decisions based on being liked and loved, seen and heard and appreciated and valued. And so on our planet, what is value? Success. What kind of success? Monetary success, public success, acknowledgement of reaching some type of acclaim of some type of skill of some sort, so you can get accolades. What else is valued on our planet? How many people you know? That's also valued on our planet. How many people know you means you must be very successful. Again, all of these ideas are all fundamental principles that affect the whole entire world. So most people don't even realize who they are. They're not operating from their true their true potential. They're operating by a falsified potential. And that's the reason why we have war. That's why we have suffering. That's why we have mental breakdown. That's why we have people who are overweight and obese. That's why we have people who have no motivation or feel depressed. because all of these things are actually going against who they are. So the way we look at it in shamanism is that the idea of the principle of living is to be able to seek liberation within yourself. You can't have liberation in a system that basically tells you that if you are to be who you really are, you're not going to be seen, loved, heard, valued, or appreciated. And remember, the word love basically antiquates in shamanism to acknowledging one's existence. So when people feel love, they're actually saying, I acknowledge your existence. So when someone feels ostracized or put aside, the reason why people commit suicide and go through these different things is because they don't feel like their existence matters. So when people see likes and loves on Instagram, Facebook, whatever social media they're on, they think, oh, I must be an amazing person. They get dopamine releases, and they get this addiction to this dopamine release in them because they get excited, because on our planet, our whole planet is based on entertainment. It's based on these dopamine releases. It's not based on true connection. So most people don't have an awareness on a science level of what's happening to their body, on their physical body, their mental body, their emotional intelligence, the way they're operating, what I call dialing in your spiritual maturity. Most people on this planet live in adolescent behavior. They act like high school and junior high. They react like high school and junior high. Whenever a problem comes up, they respond like they were back in junior high and high school. They take things personally. They get hurt. They start jumping to conclusions. They don't utilize their intelligence in the right way. So my role as a shaman is to help people to identify and understand themselves at the core level and be able to understand the roots that have built this person, and be able to utilize the information and the human technology, which is your brain and your heart, because they both have neurites, which is ability to think consciously and to make the choices, to be able to function in coherence so that you're able to live your best life, and you're not get affected by negative thoughts. You're not affected by feelings of depression. You're not affected by any of these situations. And so to get you to that point is to return you back to that which is your natural accordance, which is what God intended you to be from the day you arrived on this planet. And that's what shamanism is about. It's about relationship to yourself, to your food, to your community, to your ancestors, to the spirits, to nature, to animals, to your environment, and to everything that's going on. And if you're putting something in your body, what is your relationship to your body that you would put poison in your body? What is your relationship to a conversation you're having with someone when you're speaking down about yourself? I'm not this and I'm not that. This is destructive. And so in shamanism, it's about having a relationship that is held in truth, but also held in the highest level of autonomy and love and collective resurgence. That means everybody benefits by being in relationship with you as you benefit by being in relationship with them, and then you're amplifying love on the planet.
Wow. That sounds great. That sounds great. And it seems like somehow it's been lost in translation from the very beginning, from the moment we are born. We're just born into this system, the matrix, as you call it. That's and right. You also mentioned there's different forms of the matrix, and I know you just quickly mentioned a bit earlier about I think maybe, did you say Christianity? I know you mentioned Jesus, but Christianity, even religions as a whole, is a form of the matrix. Would you be able to explain when you say the matrix so that people would understand?
Yes. So the matrix is an industry that is based on making sure that you don't recognize that you have this immense power and capability. So think of it in this way. The matrix whole idea is to design a system that makes you incompetent and weak and codependent, so that you operate in whatever system they tell you to operate in without question, without doing your own due diligence, without looking outside of the veil that they have wrapped in and beautifully orchestrated around you, which we call the human comforts. Okay, so an example, let's use religion for an example. The Matrix has you believe that God thinks like a human being and operates in the same emotional intelligence as a human being through anger, through fear, through jealousy, all of which are emotional energies that are called disruptive energies based on fear. So that means that what they're basically telling you is that God is omnipresent and omnipotent. However, also a micro from its own macro, which also, if we look at it quantum physics perspective, is not possible because you can't be omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient and then think so small and in such a restrictive way, the universe would collapse. So it's not possible. That means that in order for God to exist, God must stay in one form of energy and operate in the understanding that everyone has the choice to choose whatever energy they choose in order for omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscience to exist. So that means what? That means that love can never be, God can never leave the nucleus of love. So love is constantly the act of creation, the existence. The idea of the matrix is to make you believe that if you don't do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that you're going to end up in hell. Life isn't going to be good for you. Things are going to be hard and difficult and this and that. So people live in one, fear of God. Now, basic psychology teaches you that you have a super subconscious mind, a subconscious mind, an unconscious mind, a conscious mind, and you're operating on relative information that is being given to you based on your own identity. So if you believe that your creator would be done with you and be and throw you to hell or judge you, and you're to be afraid of your own creator, then your brain and the way your brain operates, because it operates in duality. That's why I always say never listen to your brain, always listen to your heart, because your brain is literally a dualistic organ, and it operates in polarity. So whenever people don't understand that, they don't understand that your brain is a polarity organ, your heart is a quantum organ. So if your brain is operating in polarity, what it means is that if it believes that you are fear of your creator, then you're definitely in fear of yourself. So just the idea of you being in fear of yourself creates a myriad of problems, because in that moment you lose trust, you will sabotage yourself, you will fall out of integrity with yourself, you will betray yourself, you will fight against yourself, you will argue against yourself, you will say things against yourself, you will do things contrary to yourself, you will do anything you can to self-destruct yourself because you are afraid of yourself. So you will not have a relationship, which we call in shamanism the relationship with self, which is the key element to truly loving God, because you can't love God if you don't love what God created. And you can't love God if you're afraid of God, then you're going to be afraid of what God created, which is you and everyone else. So you're going to live in perpetual division. And that's a trick of the matrix, because if the matrix can get you to be afraid of yourself, then you will always be your own self-sabotager. You'll always be your own enemy. You will always be the one who puts the roadblocks in front of you. You will always be the one who creates every single thing that is out of alignment, imbalance, or distorted in some way. You will be the orchestrator of all of those intentions, and you will be the one who has to look at all those intentions. And because you don't have emotional intelligence, because you don't have the understanding and the faculties to recognize quantum physics and the understanding of dimensional reality, you, as long as they can keep you in a linear perspective, which is the matrix's wonderful gift of making sure we celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, so we have benchmarks. You know, they tell us this is the age you are, this is the age you are. So we keep following benchmarks. Okay, it's Valentine's Day, it's this anniversary. So you follow this linear motion, you will then not be able to see the quantum. And if you can't see the quantum, you can't see the quantumness of your existence. So you will think that you are just here for this time. You are going to live in fear of yourself while doing everything you can to do the right things according to the system, according to God. Now we're going to also mess with you even more. The Matrix is going to create a Santa Claus character that rewards you and punishes you for your good and your bad behavior. And not only are we going to do that, we're also going to create a system that punishes people and doesn't spend time rehabilitating them. So we'll create prisons, jails, death penalties, anything that represents an acknowledgement of death, fear, alienation, separation, ostracizing, exile, and the idea of of inhumane association, meaning people who do not fit within society or community. Again, we're not going to create rehabilitation programs because most of the people who are in those situations have been severely mentally afflicted by the way the world is, period. So we're gonna set up hospitals for crazy people who don't fit within the mental guidelines, and we're gonna say they're bipolar, they have ADHD, they have this, they have that. We're just gonna name and shame and blame them for everything, and then give them a bunch of drugs and tell them to take it, and then we're gonna just push them away somewhere and get them out of the face of society so we can keep running this system. So the Matrix is operating on different levels, but it's still a collective industry. And the idea of the Matrix is to make sure that you operate in codependency in your relationships, in your friendships, in your work situation, in every aspect of life. Because if you are a codependent person, then it's easy to sell something to you to make you feel like you're going to have a sense of power, and then take it away and then sell it to you again. So we'll give you money. You can work. Here's your money. Okay. Now we're going to tell you, you need to have this. You need to have this. You need to have this. So give us the money that we gave you. Okay. Okay. Give it back to us. Okay, great. Thank you. Here you go with all your things. Oh, wait a second. But you're still not good enough. So now we're going to tell you something else is wrong with you. Okay. So now we're going to create all these other things. We're going to use media as a way to program you. And we're going to use music as a way to set mantras into your mind. And then we're going to use television to create a visual program, which now we've got you. Now what we have to do is just upset you once in a while. So let's see, people are getting too comfortable. Let's do coronavirus. Oh, people are getting to this. Let's create a war. Oh, too much of this. Let's do this. Let's do that. And we're playing puzzle pieces with humanity to keep human beings in such what I call post-traumatic stress disorder, not just for the emotions in the mind, but for the spirit, so that you become so normalized by violence, by war, by lack, scarcity, fear, limitation, and all of these things that it becomes like a normal part of your everyday. You see it on TV, you'll watch movies where people blow each other up, but don't show your private parts. Don't talk about sex. Don't talk nasty talk. No. Don't do that, because that's vulgar. And don't do those things. But it's okay, you can watch someone's head get chopped off on television and punch people eating people, because that's not vulgar at all. Matter of fact, that's what we want you to normalize you in, so that if we decide to go to plan B and we decide to put something in the water or do something, you're not going to be like thrown off guard by what's happening. You're just going to keep staying in this survival mode instead of thriving mode, where you actually connect into greater intelligence. And this is why shamans have been killed. This is why people in the mystical arts, shamans, druids, witches, seers, anyone who is outside of that system, who is wanting to remind people of their power, Socrates, Copernicus, just look through history. Anytime someone was willing to tell the truth, they were assassinated, killed, and destroyed, or made a joke of in society by them using media against them, so where they would kill themselves. And this is the way the Matrix operates. But now we have an advantage. And the advantage is we have the ability, if we utilize our intelligence in the right way, we can collectively share information with each other, utilizing their devices, but in a way that doesn't get too much attention, where we can then begin to activate an awareness within society by sliding it in to a wellness, health, spiritual lifestyle, while the whole time we're actually really restructuring our greater intelligence and what I call our brain space technology to function in a functional way, not in a dysfunctional way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I'm learning these sorts of things, I think it said, like, when you're learning something, teach it immediately. It kind of helps you to learn quicker. And I just find the whole thing fascinating. But as you were saying, what you're saying there describes the world as it is. We are living in the Matrix. Like, yes, we are here now. So, for your average person who it's been drummed in their brain to not know who they are, to not understand the power that they have. And it's just completely brainwashed. where can a person start to, just where can a person start? I was going to say to be woke, but where can a person start to move towards the light, towards their own righteousness? Can't think of the words exactly, but what would be the beginning steps for them to move in the right, out of the matrix?
So the key is not for us to move out of the matrix. The key for us is to basically go into the matrix with our intelligence. A lot of times what we have to understand is that we are here to infiltrate the matrix. Like, I'm infiltrating the matrix every day. The purpose of infiltrating the matrix is to get the sleepers, the forgotten ones, the ones that they don't want you to remember, and get them to wake up within the matrix so that we as a collective group of people can begin to make shifts in whatever field we're in. If you're a lawyer, if you're a doctor, if you're a skateboarder, if you are a body model, if you're a fashion model, if you're an artist, if you're a person who helps people get their bodies in shape, if you're a health and wellness advocate, if you work in whatever it is, you're here to learn how to bring back your intelligence of what's really going on so that you can start utilizing that intelligence through what you do. So the first key is to look at where in your life do you see restraint? Where do you see yourself in limbo? Where do you see yourself in negative situations? All of these things is because you've been programmed by the matrix to be in what we call a cycle. A cycle means that you've been programmed to continue to react to your circumstances because the matrix doesn't want you to know that everything you see right now has come from the past. And everything that will come tomorrow and the week after and the month after comes from what you do right now. So if you're reacting to the bills, reacting to what's happening right now, you're basically looping around your next day, your next week, your next month, your next year to be the same as you see it right now. This is what we call as the looping. And a lot of cultures will call it the wheel of suffering, and other people have different names for it. This looping effect creates a dissonance with yourself, because what it does is it makes you repeat the same painful things over and over and over to your last dying breath, because you can't see that you are living in a quantum universe with a programmed system telling you that you're operating in a linear form. The linear does not exist. You live in a quantum. That means everything I just said became the past. And everything I'm thinking right now becomes the past, and the past becomes my next future. So if I want to create, it's like Dr. Martin Luther King said, and it said something really powerful. He said, I have a dream. He didn't say, let's change what's happening right now. No. He said, I have a dream. And why did he say, I have a dream? Because the dream world, and we say in shamanism, gives us insight outside of the matrix. It's the ability to dream greater than what you see. And most people, what they want to do is they want to crush your dreams. They want to make it so you don't dream, so you can't see possibility. So like, for instance, let's say, for instance, you have someone that is overweight, okay? And they want to lose weight, and they want to get their body in shape, and they want to do all these things. I'll use a perfect example. When they look in the mirror, they're looking at that weight. They're looking at the fat. They're looking at this. And the first thing that comes to mind is, because they don't understand that they're living in a matrix, they do exactly what the matrix wants them to do. They want them to judge it. They want them to react to it. They want to accept what they see and then make a decision about what they see. So that way, when you make a decision about what you see in the mirror, in that moment, you're now creating it to be your tomorrow, your next day, your next month, and your next year. So that what happens is your brain then kicks in, well, this is going to be a long journey, or this is going to be really hard for me, or this is going to be this, because you're already creating the loop. But if you look in the mirror and you go, okay, This is how I've been treating myself in the past. This is a good looking window for me to see what thoughts I've had, how I've been eating, how much exercise I've been getting, and this is what the past I've been treating myself. Now I'm going to dream greater than what I see. Now you have a different thing happening. Now you're in sync with the quantum energy, and in that moment you are defying the matrix.
Yeah, yeah. Makes total sense. Like as you're saying that, it did make me think that's probably not going to be too easy for a lot of people. So it's going to take a lot of practice. So does it come through words itself, or does it come through how they're feeling and what they're thinking about? Like, yeah, do they make it real through the words, or is it like how they're feeling inside? Like what kind of generates their future, if that makes sense?
The feeling is generated by thought. The thinking is generated by knowledge. So, so again, if you think about it, right? Like I can say to you right now, here's what I want you to say. Say right now,
Right now.
you are increasing courage in your body.
Do I say I am increasing courage?
No, because if you say I
Okay.
am, if you say I am, you're not speaking to yourself. You're proclamating an energy. Remember, when you were
Right.
growing up as a kid, your parents didn't say, I am this to you. They said, you are this, you are this, you are smart, you are dumb, you're slow, you're not going to pass that test, you're not this, you're not that. So the program code to accessing the dimensional energies within your body structure, which is what we call the nucleal cell, the cell nucleus that actually responds to what is happening energetically to you, that actually is what creates all of the symbioses or the different patterns of chemical releases and different things happening to you, is when you are communicating to that nucleus. That nucleus can only be communicated to when you say you this, you that.
Right, right. Amazing. All right. I'm going to work on that for myself. But that's brilliant. So we have these spirit guides that you speak of.
Yes.
Um, that's cool. I've been trying to find the right way and how to speak to them. But you know, it's one of those
Simple.
where it's such
First,
a
go ahead. All right.
I'm
I'll
saying
show you
it,
the technique. Put your finger on your hand, on your right temple.
okay.
When you ask a question, look to your finger for the answer, like in your thoughts. Okay. So you're gonna say, so you're gonna say, spirit guides, are you here?
All right. What do I look over here as I'm saying it?
No, you only look to get the
For
answer.
the answer. All right. Spirit guides, are you here?
Look to your finger. See how you're still looking straight ahead?
Yeah.
No, we want you to access the part where they communicate to you from. So again, spirit guides, are you here? And then go to look at your finger to get the answer.
So when I say the question, I don't look and then I look afterwards, or I look as I'm asking the question.
Watch me. Spirit guides, are you here?
Okay.
Is it easy to speak to you? So that's what you do.
Right. Okay. All right. I think in my head I'm already playing around saying like, are you serious? Spirit guides, are you here?
What did you hear?
Well, I don't know
Just
if I
say what you
told.
heard. I don't need you to analyze it.
All right. Yes.
Right. I heard yes. And so you see the analyzing part you were about to do?
Yeah.
That's the matrix. It doesn't
Ooh.
want you to make that connection.
Okay.
Now say, can I put your finger back? Are you excited that I'm opening myself up to hear you?
Are you excited that I am opening up myself up to hear you?
What just happened?
Yes, I'm very excited. That's
Yeah.
what
Say, thank you. I heard you.
thank you. I heard you.
Why are people making it so difficult to connect with you?
Why are people making it so difficult to connect with you?
What did they say?
I don't know. Because they don't understand.
That's right. You heard what they said. Say thank you. I heard you. Make sure you say thank you. I heard you. So what it does is it programs your precognitive lobe to be able to realize that you're having a conversation, so it doesn't let the matrix come in and try to pull you away from it.
Mm.
Now watch this. Put your hand on your other side. Say the voice that said, what did the voice say to you? Something like you're crazy. Is this for real or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Say the voice that said, is this for real?
The voice that said, "Is this for real?"
Are you a program from the Matrix?
Are you a program from the Matrix?
Now look at your left finger.
Look at it.
No,
Oh,
see how you're same
sorry.
way you did, but you're gonna look this way now. Ask the question again.
Just trying to remember what the question was. Um,
The voice that said, "Are you serious?"
the voice that said, "Are you serious?
Are you a program from the Matrix?
Are you a program from the Matrix?"
What
I
did
don't
it
know.
say to you?
I, I don't know. It was, yes, I am. And then I don't know. I felt like I heard something else, but I think I was overriding it with
No,
other
you're doing
thoughts.
fine. You're just listening, and then you stop the sentence. That's what people do. They listen, then they're like, "Oh my God, am I making this up or is this really happening?" And then they stop the sentence. Now watch this. Say, the voice that spoke to me, are you serious?
The voice that spoke to me, "Are you serious?"
You're not me, are you?
You're not me, are you?
What did it say?
Yes, you are correct.
Hmm. Thank you. I heard you.
Thank you. I heard you.
Would you like my help to return to the source?
Would you like my help to return to the source? Yes, please, if you can.
Great. Go back to, put your hand back. I'm taking you into the light
I'm taking you into the light,
to a place of unconditional love.
to a place of unconditional love,
And returning you back to your original form.
and returning you back to your original form.
How do you feel now that you're in the light?
How do you feel now that you are in the light? Ecstatic?
Say, thank you, I heard you.
Thank you. I heard you.
When you were serving the Matrix
When you are serving the Matrix
and being enslaved,
and being enslaved,
you remember what you told me?
you remember what you told me?
Now that you're in the light, what do you say now?
Now you're in the light. What do you say now?
And what did it say to you?
Um, I don't know.
Say, what did it say?
I don't know.
You heard what it said.
I'm sorry. I'm
That's
happy
right.
now.
Exactly. You did hear what it said. And do you see how you tried to make it like you didn't hear what it said?
Yeah. How it's as simple as that for people to practice. Okay. In fact, there's something I want to come to at the end, just so people can learn more about this from, the things that you teach and where people can, find your work and that sort of thing. Because, that is truly amazing stuff. Do you also do past life regression at all? Or is that something completely
We
different?
don't believe in past life regressions in shamanism.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay.
We believe that the universe is quantum. So it's not that you're really looking at past life, you're looking at one of the many lifetimes that are coexisting right now.
Okay.
So, like, I'll give you an example. Let's say, for instance, a lot of times people on Earth, they have this whole new age way of looking at past lives. They say, okay, in my last life, I was this and this and this, and they think they were this one being in this one body. But, I can do a past life course and I ask someone, okay, this person goes, I was Cleopatra. And three other women are like, but I was Cleopatra too. Well, I could be like Slim Shady and say, well, will the real Cleopatra please stand up? Please stand up. Because the truth of the matter is, they all were Cleopatra. Because the spirit isn't housed in one body. You can have 1 million spirits in one body experiencing you. So, a lot of times when people think of past lives, they think it's the past. There is no past. That's just what the Matrix tells you there is. It's quantum. So that means that when you die and you want to come back, some people are like, oh, I come back, I have to come back in the future of this experience on Earth. No, you can come back in the 50s, the 20s, the 70s, because every single possible thought that person could have ever made is another universe where they exist and it exists and they can live in that embodiment.
Wow, man. Okay. Okay. So, right. There's so many different ways that people see stuff. It's interesting. Interesting.
Well, a lot of
Um,
people see things with not science understanding behind it. They look at things from a very woo-woo, this very spiritual new age way, a past life this and past life that. But in shamanism, where shamans are very much scientific, we're very much understanding of how the universe and the dynamic structures operate with each other. So we can understand how to communicate to a doctor, to a neuroscientist, to anybody, because we are able to communicate in their language because we understand how everything is operating when we understand quantum physics, when we understand dimensional field thinking, when we understand parallel dimensions, you're removed out of linear and you step into an understanding of the infinite potential of all things. This is basic understanding of when we talk about science and we talk about, like, for instance, the atoms, then you go even more, you have the quarks and nodes that are blinking in and out of existence and showing up in different areas of the body because they're operating quantumly. So are we to say that those lights that are blinking in and out of existence are not blinking in other people's bodies that are all being shared? It's all shared energy. So literally, when we understand that everything that we do in relationships, every relationship we create in our life is basically there to reflect to us our own relationship with ourselves. So when a woman says to me, oh, my husband cheated on me, I go, no, darling, you've been cheating on yourself way before your husband did. Your husband's just showing you what it feels like, that place that you don't want to look at inside of yourself and how you've been treating yourself. If someone says no one understands me, it means you don't understand you. No one, people don't listen to me. That means you don't listen to you. So in shamanism, we understand that the one is also the many, and the many is also the one. So when you understand that, you understand the individual creation, which is you. Beautiful, majestic creation, beautiful. Greatest way to love creation is to love what creation created. This is the shamanic principle. The understanding of that creation of you, the more of you is being acknowledged, the more of others are being supported. Because the more you pour into yourself, the more you're willing to go in the more you're willing to give from without. So people, you can always tell a spiritual person, because spirituality doesn't mean doing downward dogs and drinking green smoothies and going to India and drinking Ganji water and puking, or doing ayahuasca or ibogaine. This doesn't mean you're spiritual. Spirituality means one thing, that you are willing to do what it takes to evolve. That's it. Wrap it around all that the nonsense that people put into their lives. You can be a person who did, I know yogis, people I know in London when I was living in England, people I know in Amsterdam, people who are yogis in the States, and I've seen them be the worst type of people, because they are, you can teach the class and you can talk about the philosophies, but the thing is, are you a kind, generous, loving, open person? Do you put labels and definitions on people, or do you allow people to be seen through the heart of love? Again, these are very important questions. And this doesn't, just because you went to India and you studied being a yoga teacher, does not make you spiritual. What makes you spiritual is how you adapt in your evolution, how you are able to have emotional intelligence, how you are able to use your brain space technology in a way that shifts and lifts every single person you connect with, including yourself. There is this great reservoir that never runs out within every human being, this beautiful overflowing well spring that is in every human being, but it can only be tapped and touched when a human being is willing to go inside and realize that every difficulty, every trigger that is affecting them from another person is because they have wounded places inside themselves where they have not poured love into. When they pour love into, the triggers become less, your relationships become greater, your connections with people become greater, and your service to humanity, not work. People say, I have to go to work. I don't work, I love, becomes something that is quite profound. And as Dr. Martin Luther King said, I may not get to the promised land. And that statement, I may not get to the promised land, is him realizing that it's not about the finish line, it's about the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. How would you install this sort of information in children? I mean, I've got a young one myself, and even times I think to myself, I might say something and I'm like, I shouldn't have said that. And one thing, I have this thing which you could say is a fear, is saying the wrong thing. And I think, I try to think, all right, before I speak, let me think about what I'm saying, because I don't want to condition her the wrong type of way. What would you say is the best way to help kids develop and think the right way, and not damage them with stupid words?
So I work with a lot of children, and I do this thing in Israel called Love Parents and Kids, where I have the kids tell their parents what they really think versus what the parents think. And in England, I have a lot of children that I work with that I've started. Like I have one kid that just wrote me the other day. He started working with me when he was about 12, 11 years old, 11 and a half going on 12. Now he's a teenager, and it's like he's so powerful in the way he thinks, the way he executes life, because he had all of this understanding. And I also work with parents, helping them to formulate an understanding of parenting that supports the new paradigm. First thing we have to understand is that we've been taught and trained to indoctrinate our children with our own belief systems and our own ideas of the world. This is the first mistake you can ever make, because your children probably know a lot more than you do. And the key element to actually really being there for a child is to go into their world, not always have them come into yours. So find it when they're doing something that makes them happy. It could be art, it could be playing video games, it could be anything. And then ask them to join in their world and start talking to them, not from a place of a parent, but from a friend. Asking them what their views of the world are and asking them how they came up with these ideas. And then when you see something that is not in harmony to love, to empowerment, you add information in and then you let them make their decision based on that. But if you come in and start spewing all of your opinions, if your opinions are not supporting their the highest level of growth for everyone on the planet, and it's just your own personal opinion because of your own experiences that you've had individually with something that was painful or hurtful or whatever, that's not the place where you want to share your knowledge and information. You want to share your triumphs. You want to share how you got to a greater place in yourself. You want to share your vulnerabilities to becoming stronger, because kids need to see that you're a human being that goes through things and that can overcome them. If you're always talking about the painful things that happen without showing them more triumphs than pain, then they grow up to become hurt collectors and they begin to live life collecting those pains that you went through so they can understand the rest of the story. Remember, in shamanism, everything is about storytelling. The greatest tribes are the ones who have the greatest chiefs and shamans and medicine women who sit before the tribe and tell them stories of triumph, stories of victory, stories of healing, so that the tribe learns from those stories and cultivates a new mindset that allows them to believe that if this can happen, then this can happen for us as well. So the first key is always to lead with love and lead with positivity. That means what? That means that when you speak, always speak with the elevator going up, not down. So let me give you an example. If I said, things were really hard for me today, the elevator's going down. But then I don't put a period after a negative. Never put a period after a negative word. So then I'd say, however, new energies are coming in. I'm feeling a shift happening inside of me right now, and things are looking better. Now the elevator is going up. So when you teach your children to learn how to say words, learn to use their lexicon in a way that promotes the elevator going up, your children's intelligent level, IQ level, stress management level, the ability to have emotional intelligence, their ability to utilize their thinking process for solving problems and understanding situations will become so much more accurate and profound, because you're teaching them how to write new narrative, which means you're teaching them how to create narratives for their own life.
Amazing. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. But yeah, it starts from the parent. The parent really, sometimes I listen to some kids and I'm like, oh gosh, who is the parent? You know, I might, be at my daughter's school and I see a behavior of a child and I'm like, yeah, it really does start with the parent. And I don't want to be that parent who just says some dumb shit. Excuse my language, but
Okay.
I want to make sure.
My book, you know that I curse quite a bit.
It's fantastic.
I have quite a sailor mouth, about a big sailor mouth.
I love it. I love it. Like, yeah, very expressive. It's amazing. Thank you very much for that, because that's a big thing for me. Probably before anything else, making sure that I'm doing my duty as a parent. So I've also heard you in Clubhouse, and on your podcast, and I remember you having some sort of like past life in Egypt. You mentioned about that. How did you know this? How did you come to know this? Like, I'd like to know, just thinking in my head, all right, what was my past life? But that's just not going to happen. So
I knew because of very painful, traumatic experiences. One day my father was beating me and I was on the ground and I was pretty much losing consciousness from the beatings. And I was reaching to his feet to beg for mercy. And I kept saying, mercy, Father, mercy. And my stepmom told him to keep hitting me until I would get off his feet. And when he kicked me off of his foot, I saw something, this light, and me sitting on in this chair, and there's these slaves carrying things, and one of them was being beaten by a taskmaster, and he crawled across the earth and grabbed my foot and begged for mercy, and I kicked him off of my foot, and I had him beat even more. And in that moment, I looked at my father and I said, I know why you're doing this. I understand now. And it was from that day I knew who I was in that life. And it was through that experience. And then, of course, I had other, of course, experiences like being in Israel, being invited to a Shabbat dinner the first day I arrived in Israel, and the grandmother on the table looking at me and staring at me during the Shabbat dinner, and then screaming and saying that she knows who I am and that I hurt her people. And that's why I came to Israel, to make it up to the people. Or like I'll be, on Instagram, and I'll get a message from someone on Instagram being like, I have to say you've changed. And like, what do you mean? They're like, I remember you. I remember in my past life, I used to make you these clay statues. And one day you came in and we used to always be afraid of your temper. You used to be so angry all the time. And you would throw the statues to the ground and break all the stuff that my mother and I worked so hard to make for you. And I've seen you many times. I've listened to you, and I think to myself, can he really change after being so, so cruel? And then one day I was with a friend, they were going to the Berkeley Psychic Institute, and they were getting a reading. And I was like, no, I'm not going to get a reading. And I felt this burning in my back, and walked over to the table, and the woman looked at me and said, I was just pointing at you. Did you feel me pointing at you? And I said, yes, it was like a burning in my back. She's like, yeah, I was just telling your friend to be careful with you because you were a pharaoh in another life and you have these ways about you. And I was like, interesting. And I go, and is that what you see? And she goes, yes, that's what I see. But I already knew because since I was a little boy, but I've had so many confirmations. And then when I met my girlfriend, the first thing, when we first started talking, and I'm like, she said the first thing she did when she walked in the door, she goes, I remember you. And then I said something out of my mouth like, yes, we were destined to meet long before time. And what was interesting enough was, when I was young, my mother, who's an oracle, said to me when I was about 14 that your future has already been set. So it doesn't matter who you choose to date, male, female, it doesn't matter because your woman is going to be the princess of Norway and you're going to be a part of the royal family. So you just know the spirits have already told me and this is what's going to happen. So I had blocked it out. So when I met her and it all came back, when I said to her, she said, I've seen you before. I remember you. And when we both spoke together and we both said, okay, well, what do we remember? And we said, okay, let's say it at the same time. And we're like, Egypt. And she's like, yes. And when she first walked in the door and said that, I saw myself sitting with these scepters and she had her hand on my left shoulder. And she said to me, I found you, my sweetheart. And literally, when we would walk around London, people would come up to us in the streets and be like, I'm so glad you guys found each other and you're back together. That means great things are to come for the spirit world. Egypt has, we remember your power in Egypt. You both were powerful together. And then people have also said to us, wrote in us letters saying, I know that you found each other and we will make sure you'll never come together because we don't want you to come together because you both, or, did all these things. And I've had situations where I've had people, I come home to my house and there'd be a guy in my garden in my house, and I come in and my assistant's like, who is this guy being, who broke into our house, into your house? And he'd be outside in my garden and I'd be like, why are you here? And he goes, you don't remember me? And I go, why are you here? And he goes, I need you to give me the spell that the priestesses gave you when you were the pharaoh in Egypt. And I know you remember it. He's like, because someone has done something to my diamond business in my diamond company, because he's a diamond dealer. And he's like, and I need to put a curse on them. And I know you know that spell. And I'm just like, wait a second. And I went in the house and my assistant's like, should I call the cops? And I'm like, no, I'm going to have a conversation with him. And I sat down with him. I was like, how do you know I'm from Egypt? And he goes, I saw you in the newspaper. I saw your face and I researched to find out where you live. And he goes, and I know it's you. He goes, I'll never forget you. And so these kind of things happen to me. You understand?
Right.
And so you kind of, you just at this point, because also I have guides and I've double checked it and everything. And every time I go to a psychic, they're always like, oh, you were this pharaoh and you've come to be, you're going to be a part of the royal family and you're going to do all these powerful things in the world. And I'm like, okay,
Wow.
okay, thanks.
So it's so fascinating. Does a past life have any kind of effect on the future life that you have? Well, let's say, for instance, you wasn't a nice person. um, does it sometimes at least move on to your next life?
Your next lives, is that what you would say? Like all
Yeah,
your
next
different,
lives,
because
yeah.
I had many other past lives that are affecting me on top of that one. So
Right.
just it's remember it's not linear. So they're
Yeah.
all integrated into my being.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
and yes, it does affect because when I as a shaman, I see my other friends who are shamans in different cultures and tribes, and I notice the difference between me and them is that I have this immense awareness of what it feels like to be a king, what it means to handle situations in a in a diplomatic way or a non-diplomatic way. So when I sit down with like House of Parliament or different people in the royal family or different people in presidents and so forth, when I'm sitting and having lunch with them and they're talking to me about things, that side of me comes out and gives them information and they're like in shock. They're like, but you're just a shaman. How that was brilliant what you said to me. How is it possible that you know this way of thinking? And I say, because I do. And it's because it's a part of me. I see everything in that way. I also see how you treat in that lifetime I used fear as a way to motivate people because I was a part of the matrix. And in this lifetime, me and my girlfriend have decided to be a part of the interruption in the matrix. So we see how everything is playing itself out in the way that we used to play it out. And we also see the when we know when certain things are going to hit because we watch how it's getting set up the same way we used to set it up. So this is how it affects my life, right? But then I have other lifetimes that I lived that also play an integral role in how I handle certain things. You know, like their life when I lived where I was a farmer and I lived a modest life, you know, on a farm in a very rural setting, that I was a very humble person. I didn't have much. So that's why I'm not very caught up in materials. I know how to let go of things. People can't sway me by swinging a carrot in front of me and trying to persuade me. I don't need that. I need only what I need. And if I don't need anything else. You know, so people trip off of me when they see me get rid of my house and my cars and my art and everything. And I take a backpack and I go for 10 years. And they're like, what are you doing? Don't you need that? I'm like, no, what I need is a place to sleep, food, good water, you know, and the basics. And they're like, how can you just do that without feeling any kind of like pain that you're giving up all these things? Because I had that lifetime. So that lifetime plays a part in my personality and so forth and so on. And then like my women's rights stuff that I do for women, I'm a women's advocate. I travel around the world helping women who've been mutilated in their clitoris in different countries, women who've been oppressed in their country from their culture, their religion, women who've been beaten and battered. I worked in battered shelters. And why? Because I was a woman who was a concubine to a Chinese emperor, and I experienced constantly being smacked across the face, kicked in the stomach, carrying babies, doing all of these things, and I still have memories of it. So when I go and listen to men speak, I can see when there's a man who's out of alignment with women, and the woman part of me comes through and goes, no, 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 that's not going to go down. This is not going to fly. This is what's going to happen. And so it's great because in my relationship, it helps me with my girlfriend because I understand every emotion she's going through. So she feels completely supported. And when I'm speaking to a room of 20,000 women, they're like, wow, how do you know us so well? Because I had that life. So I remember these things. You see?
Yeah. Yeah. Whew, that's powerful. That's powerful. It's just the sheer fact that you know this as well. And I always question myself. I'm like, why is it I do certain things and I'm so confident in those things and other areas maybe not so much? I always think to myself, yeah, the whole past life thing. I always think, well, what did I do before? Like, is it some knowledge which I gained from somewhere else? And yeah, it's just fascinating. It's fascinating.
You should take
Um,
my past life course on my shaman school.
do you know what? I'm going to look into that. I'm going to look into that. Yeah, well, let's definitely talk about that. What about those who can like dreams, for instance. What would you say dreams are, and why is it some people dream more than others? Um, do some people have more insight from their dreams? Well, yeah, what's your whole view on dreams?
So the dream world is a real world. It's a real universe, and it's called the spirit world. And some people have, and it varies again. And I'm going to go back to science in this one, because a lot of times where people don't have the memories of their dreams or know they're dreaming is has a lot to do with the way they treat their biological system. For instance, like their pineal gland being having too much calcification because they're eating processed food and lots of sugars and very just things that are affecting their endocrine system and really affecting their health can be one of the biggest factors of why they don't remember their dreams, because your spirit comes back to the body and then it sends frequencies into those places that actually can now then decipher that information and give it to you in your brain so you can see it, feel it, and experience it. Most people don't have that because their body is not able to handle it, because either one, they're overwhelmed, meaning they have too much stuff they're holding on to from the past, too many things they're thinking about in the present moment, and too many ideas of the fear of the future, of the uncertainty of things. That's too much input coming in. And when we have too much data streams that are being flooded, the body goes into what we call anxiety and stress and overload, and it shuts off different aspects of the frequencies of between the theta and the delta and the gamma and all these different frequencies in our brain. So we don't have access to that cognitive or experience of what we went through. So again, those scientific understandings are truthful and in science and do play an integral role in how we actually input information into our modus operandi. So again, when we think about it from the spiritual perspective, some people are more aware of the dream world because they have more things to do on planet Earth, and they need to be able to dream greater than the things they're experiencing on Earth and bring those dreams back into this waking world so they can implement those changes in this world. The dream world gives us the ability to create ideas and thoughts. Everything you see around you has come from someone's dream. So the shirt you're wearing is someone's dream. The earphones you're wearing is someone's dream. The computer we're on is someone's dream. This jacket is someone's dream. Everything you see is part of the dream except for nature, and that's also a spirit dream. So that means that's coming from another dimension. So again, if you see that every single thing around you has come from someone's dream or a collective dream, and then they found the pieces and the parts to make it come to life, that's what dreams are for. Dreams are there to give you an ability to stay in creative mode, be a creator, and also work through what we call your stagnations of beliefs that are limiting you from seeing your creative potential.
Right. Dreams, they look so weird though, I must say.
Well, the rules are different there.
Yeah, exactly. How does a person read a dream? Because it's as you say, the rules are completely different. So man, like you could be like in your dream, you're sitting down reading a book, and then you might just step inside the book, and then you're walking around and the earth is spinning and you can see it spinning. Just nothing makes logical sense. So
but nothing makes logical sense here either.
Very true. We can try and make a bit more
logic. You can't base logic. You have to follow Seal's old song. You got to go crazy if you're going to survive. There's no logic in this world. This world isn't logical. No. Logical means that you actually do something that makes sense as according to supporting everything and everyone. That's logic. We don't live in a logical world. This is an illogical world. Okay. We create a system where we lie to each other. That's the most illogical thing you can do.
Very true.
We have war so we can gain over other people as if those people are different from us when they're our brothers and sisters. We kill our own people because of the color of their skin, or because we hurt them because of the choice that they choose to share their body with intimately. We identify ourselves in boxes and labels, and we hold those labels with righteousness and pride to the point of taking someone's life or fighting with someone or creating more destruction on the planet. We destroy our own resources We consume more than we actually need. We take more from the planet than we have to take. I mean, this is in the first chapter of the book Spirit Hacking, where I talk about the reason why we're in this blackout. Everything you see on this planet is illogical. So just because the dream world has different rules, we think it's illogical. How do you know it's illogical? What if it's quite logical?
It's true. True. How do you make sense of it then? If you want
Well,
to try and learn from it and, make some decisions in life.
well, the first thing you have to understand is what kind of dreamer are you? Are you a lucid dreamer? Are you a dreamer who's playing out the story? You see? And then the other thing is to recognize, are you a witness to the dream, or are you the person in the dream, and are you writing the dream as you go along? So again, there's different kinds of things that happen in the dream world. So sometimes in the dream, you're in there, but you have a witness. The witness is watching you, which is you from another dimension watching you. And then like in this world right now, as I'm talking right now to you, there's a witness watching my mouth move, watching my facial expressions and learning everything about me. And that's also going into a storage of information. Now I can go into meditation and connect with that witness, or I could choose to continue operating and speaking and using my hands and communicating to you. In the dream world, you have a witness. In the dream world, you can be lucid. Lucid means you're aware that you are in that world. Then you can change things. You can make a door out of nowhere. You can say, show me my fears on earth that are really the biggest fears I have. And then the dream will change to fit those fears, like a holographic deck that you would see in Star Trek, where they go in and they say, fear at level 7. And then that's what so you go in that. But then there's places in the dream world that you can access to the other side. You can visit family members. You can learn from different people who live their lives on earth, who are in the spirit world. That's what Edgar Cayce did. He had someone who was sick. He'd go to sleep and dream. He'd find the person who knows about the medicine and the information. He'd bring it out, go get the medicine, give it to his patient, and they got healed. And he wrote numerous amount of books. Edgar Cayce, look him up.
Yeah.
So the key element is to find out what you're doing. If you're the person who's in action, then what you want to do is pay attention to how you feel emotionally in that dream. That's what tells you what the situation is in our world.
Wow. I'm definitely the person who creates the dream, and if I'm not liking it, I can change it around.
Okay, so you're lucid.
Lucid, yeah.
Now, do you go on missions? Like, do you meet up with other dream walkers to go on these missions where you're actually having to solve something or do something together as a group? Do you have to battle? Do you battle things? Do you have to figure things out?
Yeah, sometimes figuring things. I don't know about battling, maybe, but sometimes, but definitely figuring stuff out with other people, stuff like that.
Okay, so you're a dream walker. So do you remember the missions you go on?
They're just random, but I don't even want to use the term illogical.
Because what you think is illogical isn't, because what happens in the dream world affects our world.
Wow.
So I go on missions. I'm a very lucid dreamer. I'm a dream walker. I have been since I was a kid. So I go on missions with groups of people who are on Earth dreaming, and we go and we solve problems for Earth. So let's say, for instance, there's a politician who's about to make a bill on something. We in the dream world, we confront that politician in the dream world and battle whatever dark forces are making him make that decision, and we get him to change his mind in the dream world. So when he wakes up, he decides to go a different way.
All right. That's pretty amazing. I'm definitely going to take more note of my dreams, because I always just thought it was, I don't know, random. Just like, wow, that was such a random
nothing
dream.
Random, my dear. Nothing random at all.
Oh, this is incredible. I think that's it. Okay, one thing. If a person is not sure who they are and they want to understand what their purpose is, what would you say is the best way for them to do that?
I mean, that's like a very, let's see. If a person doesn't know who they are and they want to know their purpose, well, first of all, we have to kind of separate those two, because there's no such thing as a purpose. That's very new age and very fluffy bunny stuff. Okay. A purpose doesn't exist. There's many purposes within purposes within purposes. So just as I'm Shaman Durek, I also make house music for DJs. I write scripts for Hollywood. I do, I do stuff with children. I mean, I'm a poet. I mean, I do a lot of different things. Okay. So My purpose isn't just ingrained in one thing. My purpose is a multitude of everything that makes me happy and joyful. So what you always will know what your purpose is by what feels naturally or organic for you to feel happy and excited about. When you feel there's pressure, annoyance, and agitation and fear, that's because you're being programmed to do something you don't want to do. So as I always say, if you're at your job and you're looking at your clock because you want to go home, that's really not your job. Because if you really love what you do, you're not going to be paying attention to the time. If you love being with the person, you're not going to be trying to get away from them. So the key element is really looking at the authenticity of your participation to anything. That's
Mm.
key. Second is to be aware of how you as a person look at the world, and where do you see love needing to be placed, and where do you feel you can place that love. That's also your purpose.
Mm.
So that's how you find your where you are. Now, to find yourself and to know yourself is a key about you getting to ask yourself the questions, getting to know yourself. Like, you can come and check out some of the things that I offer, like the healing temples on Saturday. Come to some of the workshops that I do, where people who come in there who didn't know themselves write me letters and are like, I know who I am now. I know what I'm here to do. I know the many things I'm here to do. I'm super lit. I'm living in the Liddy committee. I'm a part of the Lit tribe, because the key element here is to be able to cultivate the knowledge of getting to the place of knowing yourself. Knowing yourself isn't just, I'm going to know myself. Knowing yourself is having the ability to have the know-how to know yourself. So the first key of knowing yourself is really connecting and having a conversation with yourself. It could be on paper where you just write down, like, what are some of the things you don't like that you keep doing? And then you write it down. What are the things that you want to do, but you don't do because you keep putting it down? You write that down. You start learning how to interact with yourself. I always say the greatest person that you need to learn to have a great relationship with is yourself, because you never leave yourself. You can have a relationship with another person, a friend, but they might go to a movie theater, they might go to the bathroom, the loo, they might go to a trip somewhere, but the person you can never leave is you. So best get to knowing yourself and spending time with yourself and loving spending time with yourself, so that you have the most deepest, loving, nurturing relationship with yourself, so that you can have a greater relationship with others.
Incredible. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is just so powerful, man. Oh, thank you. Where can people find some of your amazing work? Let's say they want to learn from you. What was we talking about earlier?
We have the Shaman School, which you can go to shamandurek.com and get on the Shaman School, look and see which courses connect with you. And you can do that. You can get every day on my Instagram, I'm giving nothing but content. That's what I live for, giving to the people. Come to the healing temples. It's $10 every Saturday. If you can't make it in the times, it's okay. You still pay for it, and you get to own the video. We go over all kinds of tips and tools for you to be able to keep in your power, knowing yourself and using your power to manifest what you choose in your life. You can also find me on Clubhouse. I have a room called the Spirit Hacking Club. We bring in neuroscience doctors, functional medicine doctors, doulas, artists, skateboard, everyone to talk about everything about life and how we can stay lit and be a part of the Liddy committee of intelligence leaders who are changing the social atmosphere and the global environment to being a much more productive and much more innovative society.
Amazing, amazing.
And then
I
you can always
definitely.
find Spirit Hacking as well, which is in England, Spain, Portugal, Russia,
Mm.
Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Africa, South Africa, and Australia and New Zealand.
That book is just so incredible. I've heard audiobooks by many people, but wow, you put so much energy, so much passion in it. Like, so much. It's like, it feels like you are actually there. The amount of energy you put in it, it's amazing. I've listened to it, I think, about 2.5 times. I'm going to go through it, and yeah, I'm sort of halfway through the third time. Amazing. Couldn't listen to it enough. But look, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm definitely going to join up on one of those courses. I'm going to go to your website in a moment now. So thank you. I
Love
really
you,
appreciate
brother.
it. Love you too, man. Seriously, God bless. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank
And have
you.
an amazing day. Take care.